On January 15, the premiere of the series One of Us, The Last of Us, took place on HBO, the long-awaited film adaptation of the game of the same name from Naughty Dog Studio. Among the showrunners are the author of the original story, Neil Druckmann, and Craig Mazin, the director of the Chernobyl series, a high-quality adaptation that reveals the details of the original world of the game. Editor of the Kano book, Karina Nazarova, shares her impressions of watching the first series. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so as not to miss new interesting movies. And so we drove. TV screen of 1968, two scientists talk about the coming epidemic of deadly virus capable of rapidly evolving and taking over the human body and mind. That was the year Joel was born. Only 35 years later, in 2003, a deadly fungus will overtake him and all of humanity. On next day, nothing foreshadowed trouble, despite the apparent fatigue. Joe will seem to be happy with his life. His house is cozy. In the morning, his daughter named Sarah, Nico Parker, cooks breakfast for everyone, and the hero's brother Tommy, Gabriel Luna, sarcastically jokes. Even disturbing news on the radio cannot cool the warmth of family life. An important warning of the radio voice remains unnoticed. And by the way, they say that riots have begun in Jakarta. US citizens should immediately return to their homeland. The exposition of the series allows you to see the world of the One of Us and its characters in more detail. We learn that Sarah was a sensitive teenager with a kind hair. The close-up of a simple detail in the form of a bumper sticker allows you to see Joel, a war veteran who participated in Operation Desert Storm in Iraq. In addition to a lively retelling of the character relationship through the peculiarities of their religion, the exposition is full of small details that gather in anticipation of trouble. Sarah notices that the world outside her home has become like another, unusually restless and unnatural. Having run into a watch shop, the camera acting her as a continuation of the heroine's eyes begins to peer into the dials of the clock and the rapidly running second hands. Aritzell's silent pathos. Suddenly, the wife of the watchmaker fearfully throws the girl off outdoor and locks them with a key. Meanwhile, the roads of the streets are filled with police cars, sirens sound everywhere, but few people pay attention to this, except Sarah after all. This is America, which means that the police patrol is a common thing. However, something is wrong. An elderly neighbor writes in unnatural grimaces, and her dog thoughtfully stares at the point until they runs away from home in the middle of the night to look for a new shelter. Such prolonged attention to the state of the world before the apocalypse allowed us to build the necessary dynamics of its destruction and show by contrast how in an instant civilization turns into ruins and habitual freedoms bent under the weight of the political terror. On the one hand, it's a favorite trope of the disaster genre. On the other hand, it's a well-thought-out challenge of the viewer, requiring him to recognize in what he saw not so much the beginning of the plot of the original game as non-game reality. That night, darkness descended on the city. The virus spread with phenomenal speed. People began to turn into zombies in a panic. Joel, Sarah, and Tommy are eager to leave the city. But houses are burning on the highway, cars are exploding, people are begging for help. It becomes impossible to watch. Anxiety turns into tears. The camera takes over the immersion in space and the plot. She gets stuck in the confident spaces of the car with the heroes peering fearfully. At the apocalypse happening outside the window, the camera behind which cameraman Xenia Serenda is identified with Sarah's gaze. The girl looks around and notices in horror the total loss of the human appearances of the former world. The stand in the car produces a claustrophobic effect. The space inside of the frame suffocates in fear along with the characters, but soon they will have to run to the tragic climax on the Owen. We are once again plunging into the post-apocalyptic world of the 2023 from the position of child perception. A little boy approaches the welcome sign hanging on the wall of the concrete border of Boston, guarded by federal soldiers. A happy and well-fed life is not waiting for a nameless boy within the walls of the city. Strangers are poisoned in the vein and the bottles are burned. A military declarationship has been established in the quarantine zone of the country, and the rebel groups seem to have already lost their former ardor and a bit of hope over the years of resistance. Health resistants have become more like zombies than monsters themselves in this new almost alien world. It's better not to stand out. Once again, not to move and silently perform their duties. During the outstations military crackdown on lawbreakers, already smuggler Joel, along with their girlfriend Tess, Anna Torv, plans to escape from the quarantine zone is searching a brother Tommy in Wyoming. But there is only way to get out of the city, to help the cicadas, an insurgent organization fighting for the return of the former state system. On behalf of the head of the cicadas, Marlene, Merle Dandridge, Joel has to escort the girl Ellie, Bella Ramsey, to the Massachusetts capital. Ellie, a sharp-tongued and lively girl, sat for some time in a room, killed by old age and poverty, being changed to a pipe. A couple of weeks ago she was bitten, but the virus didn't spread beyond her land. Although every bitten person is threatened within a day. It seems that she is humanity's chances for salvation, and it's she who was to devote her life to a great mission. The director of the first episode was Craig Mazin, the author of the series Chernobyl. He once again managed to reveal the scale of the disaster by looking at the personal tragedies of the people accidentally involved in fatal circumstance. But what is surprising is how carefully and harmoniously almost the same game dynamics of the movement of heroes in space and the same camera mechanics are used in a original The Last of Us. After the game itself has really reached an amazing level of the cinematography. All the authors are trying their best to make an adaptation really an adaptation and not a parody. Everything worked here. Each time comes at subsequent stage in immersion in the world. Acquaintance with the characters does not seem secondary. The fictional world is filled with horrors, but everything terrible is closer to the real human than in thought. Actions, loss, heartbreak, grief, anger. The narrative itself also tries to go step by step with the original. Of course, when transferring our narrative from one medium to another, losses are inevitable, but the creators strive to minimize them as much as possible. The showrunners make up of the lack of control of the main characters and identification with him, with dynamic aspects and attention to the mental states of the characters. Druckmann and Mazin skillfully manipulate the change of intonation in the scenes, from the touching to catastrophic, from cruel to tender. Small rare smiles in the walls of a gloomy city give at least some semblance of homes. Sarcastic remarks, oddly enough, are the potential of a uprising, and sudden flashback is the understanding of the hero endless mourning for his dead daughter and the sentimentality of this earth. The results chemistry between the characters of Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey begin to work from the first bars of the mere meeting. The actors manage to embody their prototypes brilliantly on the scene. You believe the dynamic look of Pedro Pascal combining cooperation with hidden rage. The heroine of Bella Ramsey turned out to be surprisingly bright. Ramsey steals the show from the adult colleges thanks to her strong acting charisma. And as for us, the audience, and now we are controlled puppets, which are moved by the screenwriters with the help of a bright range of emotion and drama. This series turned out to be explosive, frightening. It has all the details and aspects of the first chapter of the game. Action, violence, every, but there are also other details that previously lacked: a little space sensitivity, love, and the power of human grief. Western film critics assured that in the next series the tension will only increase, and the initial quality of the project does not deceive all. We will follow the developments. The third episode of the series The Last of Us turned the history of the game. Fans didn't expect this. The audience got no bill and prank. The first episodes were enough to make the series The Last of Us an incredible success. Ratings are high, there are more and more viewers. Sales of the game have jumped. That's just the third series came out not so unambiguous. What is it about? Where to watch the series? In the world of some of Us is broadcast by HBO. There is still no news about the official premiere in Russia. What happened in the third episode? At the beginning, Joel and Ellie are shown resting in the woods before the road to Bill. The girl discusses Tess' death. She says that the smuggler will not force her to take on this task, so you shouldn't blame her for everything. Joel silently agrees. The heroes enter the store where the stash is hidden. Joel is looking for something important. Ellie is studying the shelves. They climbs into the basement and finds an infected person there, who was covered with stones. The girl examines and kills the monster. The couple go on the notice and plant that crashed in the beginning of the pandemic. Joel once again confirms that the fungus mutated and infected people through a basic product like fluor. The goods were taken to the shops, and a few days later the civilization died. The Ellie sees the skeleton of people. The partner explains that the military collected civilization and looked them to checkpoint. But there wasn't enough space there, so they shot the extra people. The reason is simple: that cannot be infected. Then the plot shifts to 23. The military forcibly evacuate the population of a small town. Only survivalist Bill hides from the soldiers in the basement and watches everything through the cameras. When everyone leaves, he goes out and arranges life. Effect: electric fences, sets traps, stocks up on food and alcohol. As a result, he creates an oasis in a world full of danger. One day, Frank falls into one of the traps. Together with 10 people, he escaped from the destroyer shelter, but the rest died. Bill tells the unwanted guest to leave, but he asks for food. The owner warmly agrees, so Frank's shower feeds him deliciously and pours wine. After dinner, Frank goes to the piano and plays Linda Ronstadt's song Long, Long Time Terribly. This is Bill's favorite track, so he drives the guest away from the instrument, puts his hands on the keys, and sings. Relations are improving between the heroes. 3 years later, they continue to live in the town. Frank even persuades Bill to open a boutique and invite friends to lunch. He already has nice guys in mind. They're turned to be Tess and Joel. After a pleasant conversation, the characters agree to exchange goods. After all, Bill's friends feel soon leak, and there are materials in jail shelter. And Frank also arranges for a musical cheaper. After a while, the survivors become more aggressive. One night, raiders attack Bill's territory. The violence were stopped by traps, but Bill himself gets injured. Frank barely saves him. Then the plot returns to our time. The characters have already aged and Frank can't walk on his own. He has lived a great life, but now he's asking for an easy death from pills. But first he wants to spend another wonderful day. During the last dinner, Bill agrees to die with Frank. The characters get drunk or sipping pills and falls asleep. Joel and Ellie get to the place and immediately notice their additions. No one meets the flower have not been watered for a long time. The table is a mess. Ellie finds the letter intended for Joel and reads it out loud, but writes that he hated almost all people, but one of them is still worth saving. Joel should follow suit, take weapons, supplies, and protect Tess at all costs. That's just Tess died in the last episode, so the letter almost brings the characters to tears. Then everyone pulls themselves together, takes a shower, grabs supplies, charges Bill's car, and continues on the highway. The road leads to Tommy, Joel's brother. He was one of the cicadas, so he may know about the Earthjam. Ellie inserted the tape into the tape recorder the same long time that Bill and Frank played on the piano songs. In general, after watching the series, it became clear why a separate series was dedicated to Bill, because his plot is currently the biggest departure from the game. There he was left alone after Frank's death, whereas the series, they died together, and Elle will never meet Bill again. Impressions from the third series. The first 2 episodes were intense. The authors revealed the characters told about the world and infection, confronting the heroes with monsters through difficult choices and forced them to shed tears for the dead. There is nothing like this in the third episode. It's a drama about two survivors in love, which has little effect on the plot. Of course, the series answers many questions. Who did Joel and Tess met trade good with? Who sent radio signals with music from the 18th? What was the life of Bill, adored by gamers? That's just the answer took 75 minutes. And to someone the figure will sound too big. However, the episode cannot be called frankly bad. It's not for nothing that he has 9.4 points out of 10 in IMDb, but it will be appreciated only by viewers who do not mind long stories about the relationship of minor character. Bill and Frank relationship turned it to be unusual. In the original game, they will not give much attention. Trailer for the fourth series. In the next series, the authors will again focus on Joel and Ellie, who will face the raiders and make sure there are things worse than infected. The sequel will be released on February 6th. If it was interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.